Hello, this is Carmen. Welcome once again to Beauty Beneath the Surface. I wanted to take the time to give this message. It's been coming to me for a while, and I had something to trigger it, and I knew it had to be delivered. Before I go into it fully, I first have to acknowledge the person actually responsible for teaching and telling me about mental health, psychology, and doing the work. I want to make special mention of Dallas X. May the 12th marks 2 years of his passing. I also want to acknowledge his mother and his family. I want to acknowledge and thank their family friend for giving me information. She worked in the area of mental health, and I was able to have access to information that I otherwise didn't even know that I needed. I want you to pay attention to the people that come in your life. When I met Dallas, I want to say that season was short, it was powerful, and it was potent. And the impact and contribution that he made within my life will be branded in my heart, in my mind, and in my soul forever. I want to talk about this message, and what triggered this message was I was having an interaction with a gentleman, okay? And we were having a discussion, and it was like he was privy to some information, actually some good information that we didn't know about. It was something positive, it was something good. And he, said some things, and, he was preparing himself to be disappointed. He was preparing himself to be sad. And he because he knew this information, he was like, he was already just kind of almost preparing himself. And he was like, I was about to get in my feelings. You know how you try not to say exactly what everything was because you want to keep people's identities, private. Okay, so he was like, I was ready to, just get into my feelings. And when he said that, I heard beyond what he was saying, and it went in my spirit. It just went in my soul it went in my soul real fast. And what he was saying is that he thought he was going to be overlooked. And when he said that, I knew that it came from somewhere, the feeling of being overlooked, rejected, and ignored. ostracized, And I knew that without them saying it, I knew that it came from somewhere, and I knew that it came from, the foundation. It came from his foundation. And, we don't just wake up in certain ways. We don't wake up with certain thought patterns. We don't wake up just with, certain behavior patterns. It happens in the foundation. Psychologists say between the ages of 1 to 7 that's when our foundation is created. And some of us have had more to overcome and come through than others. Some have had very good, solid foundations. And some of us have had, let's say, more of a fragmented foundation. Okay? There's another area I'm going to go into, and that's people pleasing. Overextending yourself, doing more than asked for. What happens in this case is usually, the child has maybe one or two parents, maybe who have, some type of addiction, or maybe some type of, emotional illness, or some type of psychological illness. What ends up happening, and the reason why this happens, is because, and I want to admit that, this was me, and this was me for a long time. What happens is what the child does, because what we're talking about today is, how is childhood trauma affecting your relationships? What happens is the people pleaser is trying to make sure everything and everyone around them is peaceful, happy, so they can feel safe. So the safer you are, the happier you are, the more safe I can be, And it is a longing, it's a longing. And the real truth is sometimes we are trying to physically create a reality for somebody that they emotionally and mentally are not at. So this may not ever happen for us. But as a child, you don't know that. You don't know that. And so once those behavior patterns are formed, they just continue, they continue, and they continue. And so the subconscious mind reacts without even, it's just like breathing, and we'll get to that. Now, the next one I want to get into is hypersensitivity. Now I can say it, like I said, I'm being unapologetic. We want to call that the empath, okay? The empath can pick up on things and energies in the environment. Anything that you want to know, your answers are in the energy, okay? And so anything that that's how your body will let you know. Well, for the person that is hypersensitive, the empath most of the time was in situations that they weren't so safe in, okay? So it has to be able to take, like, I want to say, like a mental blueprint. It's almost like a scan of the environment, a scan of the room, a scan of the people, a scan of the looks. And you can pick that up. And a lot of times as it develops, what ends up happening is you can pick up on things that sometimes people would even be embarrassed that you knew. I don't want to say it's just that, but I'm just saying to that particular degree. And so a lot of people covet that gift. We can really get into that. They covet that gift, but most people that have that gift don't necessarily want it. I'm telling you, most of the people that want their third eyes open and they want it, they want this and they want that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wanting it, okay? But you pick up on a lot and you're getting a lot of information, and you're getting this information all at one time. And I want to also differentiate, when you're picking up this information, you have to make sure, all empaths out there, that what you're picking up is not your unhealed self. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you can say, oh, yeah, I knew it. So you have to, once you become healed, and you'll know when it is, you're able to see what is your triggers. What are you picking up? Is that your trigger? Oh, I knew he wasn't going to call. I knew she wasn't going to call. I knew that they weren't going to like me. And so I know I'm right about that. Now that sounds very spiritual, and that sounds very sensitive, but some of that, see, the thing about that is some of that can be actually your insecurities, your thoughts, and your subconscious mind, your subconscious way of thinking. And as you begin to heal, you are really able to separate the two of the hypersensitivity, Okay, and that, like I said, some of these are I'm going through them, but some of them you really could actually have a topic on them for about like an hour. Okay, but we don't have an hour, so I want to kind of get through it in a timely way. Okay, then we want to move on to the rage, the fight, and the self-protection. Okay, rage cannot come out of you. This is a revelation I got, unless it's in you. The rage cannot come out of you unless it's into you. I'll give you an example. I remember driving, and you could be in a peaceful mood. You're in a good, peaceful mood. Somebody, they're in the wrong and they flip you off. There's no way on earth that if the rage wasn't already in you, that you could go from 0 to 100, as far as, maybe, chasing them down and, really ready to deal with this person, that may have, dropped the F-bomb or whatever, And that's why we have to be so careful, because, people that think that they're the only angry ones running out of here, the only angry ones running out of here, and there's somebody more angrier than you, So that's a good way, to really look at it, is like the rage cannot come out of somewhere that it is not. Just like a sponge. If I push a sponge and it is grease and oil in it, the grease and oil is not going to stay contained. Do you see what I'm saying? And as you start healing, you will realize that, okay, this is their issue. They're having a terrible day, and you literally can see where they had that toxic energy, and they needed to be able to direct and place it somewhere, right? They needed to be able to place it somewhere, and the person behind the counter or the person over the phone was the perfect target in their mind, because some very toxic and noxic people, they just, I think that they should just stay in the house, and stay, if you're feeling that hellacious, just, isolate, right? But also, like I said, I wouldn't have been the person that just woke up hellacious, but I was the person that if you flip me off, and I was, I could go from 0 to 100, and, this is fact, and then, you're starting to heal when it's like, oh, whatever, good guy, woo, you say that, and you realize that that's their stuff, right? I also want to go into self-protection. Where self-protection comes in is where areas where you may not have been protected in certain situations. I do want to say something, and I'm trying to think of how much, but I want to be able to be honest, right? I remember an incident where, I had gotten in a little trouble. Okay, I can, speak on it for freely. Someone had been nudging me, and like I said, I'm a peaceful person. I, like peace, and I like to be happy, and especially back then, when you're trying to just keep yourself peaceful, you don't want to have anxiety. You just want to be peaceful. And I went from 0 to 100, like literally zero. That just used to be my MO. Okay. And of course, would people be shocked? Yes, and any rate, and I knew that, everybody tried to make me feel so bad. They tried to make me feel, just so, they tried to make me feel a particular way that I'm sorry, I just was not feeling, okay? And the lady, the family friend, she told me, and she said, now look at you. You feel like that person deserved that. And look at you, your behavior is not matching what you did, okay? And that's a whole nother story, because what happens is the person that is the antagonist, they'll keep, poking and poking and poking and poking. And see, you have to understand, we'll get into some other narcissistic behaviors. I know that word has just been flying around, right? But it is so many dimensions and so many tentacles to that one thing. But they have mastered this. But what ends up happening is when you do something, they are so cunning that and they're waiting for that opportunity. It may not even be anything that you've done, but they are waiting for that opportunity to project that toxicity, that diabolicalness. They're waiting. So they would, if they can't, if they don't get the opportunity, they will project it onto you. So now what you really don't want to do is actually give them real material to work with, okay? Because they're gonna work it, okay? And they know just how, and they know just to what degree. But usually by the time that they finish, the fire is, it's already been going, and the cinders, are over. Now, we will get into some spiritual things and some spiritual principles. But right now, we're just talking about, how has childhood trauma, or how is childhood trauma affecting your relationships? So, yeah, self-protection is okay. Nobody will protect me. Yes, and she asked me, she said, you think the bad guys are going to get away? And inside my spirit, yes, because that's what I thought. I said, that's what I thought. The operative word is thought happens, right? Okay, so now that we're done with the rage, the fight, the self-protection, we're going to get into abandonment. What abandonment does, especially in romantic relationships, what ends up happening is, one or maybe both parties hold back, because they don't want to be disappointed. They figure, well, something is already going to happen anyway. So, I'm going to be withholding. May not outwardly come out and say it, but through your behavior, right? And I don't know how many of us can kind of raise our hands and know that that's us. And guess what? Guess who gets cheated? You do, So, yeah. So, and then also with abandonment comes a certain amount of rejection. If you're expecting to get rejected, 9 times out of 10, that person that's full of rejection is doing things that actually cause rejection, right? Okay. Now, self-rejection. Self-rejection is something else. If you are a male or female and you are not embracing all the power that is within you, all the gifts that you've been divinely given, all the beauty that is you, because there's only one you. You cannot expect another to accept you if you're not accepting yourself. It's like those two worlds just kind of don't, they kind of don't match up, as above, as below. And, it is, just think about it. Just take your time and just think about that. Okay. I want to move on to another one, and it's called competitive jealousy. Competitive jealousy. That is such a scarcity mindset. Somehow, if a person is doing less than you, then you are more powerful. It means somebody has to lose and somebody has to win. And heaven help you if they're neck and neck. Competitive jealousy. I want to now. This is kind of funny. I am gonna say this. I'm air quoting a so-called friend, right? And if I got something like a brand new car, she literally would go into an anxiety attack. Okay, she would go into an anxiety attack about an inanimate object. Okay, it is a car. It is metal. It is. But somehow. It didn't matter how much I, went through. It didn't matter, it didn't matter. It did not matter. I just could not have, tears in the eyes, So like you see, now she's not around now, right? But this, not only when you're not healed do you attract, the opposite sex. The opposite sex, with bad energy and, just all kind of toxic people, your friendships are, that's a male, you have another male or a female, friend or whatever, vice versa. And, so that's just a nice example of competitive jealousy. You get a bigger house, I'm upset because, all of a sudden you're looking over there at somebody else and, when you are operating in your own vein and in your own lane, there is no competition, and, the healed get this, right? I also want to talk about the manipulator. One thing that I found out about the manipulator is usually they're so good at it. They've been doing it for so long. They've gotten away with it and it works. Okay? It works till it doesn't work. But unless you are thinking on that frequency, unless you are thinking as a manipulator, and see, the manipulator thinks everybody else is manipulating. So you watch people that they, it's always something wrong with somebody. They can never say anything nice about them, or the only people that they, feel comfortable being around is people that they don't feel, maybe, I want to use the word, maybe, more supreme, more superior, more, the other person is less of a threat, okay? And you would have to move through life pretty paranoid, with that. And, all of us, now when I say that, that's one area I don't have an issue with, because, you realize that everybody has times and seasons. When the season that somebody else is getting blessed may not be your season. But if you stay consistent in what you're doing and stay committed to what you're doing, the same things can happen for you in your season, right? Now, I may have some other things, but But what I was saying is, excuse me if it interrupted a little bit. I may have some other things, but being competitive and using comparison, that's not one of them. Okay. I want to go on and talk about, lastly, manipulation and the manipulator. Manipulation, domination, and control. And some of us know what that is. What the manipulator, a lot of times the manipulator thinks that that's the only type of way that they can get things to move on their side. And just kind of in my research, what I found out is that one of the reasons why the manipulator, usually people who manipulate, keep doing it, is because some type of way it's working for them. And it especially works well with people who have their own wounds. You are a little bit more open to being manipulated. And some forms of emotional, I wanted to say emotional blackmail is one of them. Some people, they want you to consistently make up for whatever it is that they didn't get in their childhood. Then they carry it over in their adulthood. And, sometimes there are unseen or unverbalized signals to, if you're my friend, you would do this. Well, if you were committed to me, you do this. If you cared about me, you do that. And so people who are people pleasers, they are manipulators have a real fun time. And I guess I could say with us, because when I talk about these different things, I'm not talking about it from, and like I said, I might have to go back and give a disclaimer. I am no psychologist. I am no licensed psychologist. I am no licensed psychotherapy or psychiatrist. These are just things that I've had to, challenge in myself. And I want to, I'm sorry that I'm kind of backtracking, but I want to say that anything that you're going to overcome, anything that you're going to get, you're going to have to fight for it. And, my desire to be made whole is one of the reasons, because we know when it's different things that are fragmented about ourselves. If you do any type of self-examination, you're gonna know. And so these things that I talk about them not kind of like, they're over there and we're over here. No, it's doing the work, working hard, being aware of yourself. And as you begin to start healing, and like I said, healing is an ongoing process. Okay, it's not like you just get to this certain amount and you're totally healed. But at any rate, I want to, it's an ongoing process. I want to hurry up because I don't think I have that much longer. So being either being manipulated or being the manipulator. I am so happy to say that there is hope, everyone. Realize where it comes from. This is one step. Realize where all these triggers come from. Be honest with yourself. We have to self-reflect to self-correct. Realize what your triggers are and realize that it is a process. All these things, Rome was not built in a day. Let's see. And also, in closing, realize that your trials are not only just for you, they actually help free people. Why? Because free people, free people. Until the next time, this is Carmen from Beauty Beneath the Surface. We will continue a different topic. And until next time, good night.